Welcome into ProBox TV's Who Da Man, where we break down the top fighter in a particular weight class. That's not what we're doing today. We're talking about pound for pound greatness. A lot of activity among fighters who are at the top of the list. We break it down who is best and why. It isn't just Jimmy Smith here in the ProBox TV studios. I'm joined by Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, and Teddy Atlas, all by Zoom, ready to lend their expert opinions into this topic. Let's start off with the man who had a great performance not long ago. That's right. We're talking about Naoya Inoue. He is 27-0, 24 knockouts. I'll start with you, Chris. When you look at what Inoue can do, if you had a combine for boxers and you listed everything that every boxer could do, Inoue, his total score would have to be somewhere at the top of the list. The man can do absolutely everything. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. With Inoue, it's all about fundamentals. And the fundamentals work from the bottom all the way to the top. Naoya Inoue does everything right. He's got great hand position. He's explosive. He's got good technique. You know, his punches come out the way they're supposed to. Everything is textbook when it comes to that guy. And I always mention his father as being a great trainer because not only has he done it with Naoya, he's done it with his other son, with the younger brother, Takuma, who's an excellent fighter, does not have the athleticism or the power that Naoya has, but has excellent technique and still finds a way to win. So these guys are well-schooled, well-trained. Naoya Inoue has that, plus he has incredible athleticism. He has fast feet. He's got explosive punching power. He changes speeds really well, changes angles and dynamic and levels. He does everything well. And when I watch him fight, I'm always like, I'm like taking notes. I'm like, all right, this is what boxing is supposed to look like. And on top of that, he has a killer instinct. He's not afraid to be in the heat of action, looking to do damage, looking to get his guys out of there. He's a knockout puncher. He's got a great jab. He's got a good right hand. He's got great uppercuts. He goes to the body well. I mean, literally, he's everything you want to see in a fighter. And for a pound-for-pound guy, man, he's got it all.
Yeah, Paulie, when you look at his style, another factor that we're going to discuss a lot on this show when discerning who's number one pound for pound, you're always splitting hairs. But one of the things is wow factor, right? When you see Naoya Inoue fight, it's that wow factor. Big knockouts. He's an excellent finisher. How much do you think that helps him when we talk about this debate?
I think it helps a lot in terms of because you know, pound for pound list is more so fans' opinion, and a lot of times if you're a fan favorite or if you're of a style that fans really appreciate or love, then you know there's a little bit more favoritism. There tends to be a little bit more favoritism in this way. You know, I feel like Inoue is one of the most exciting fighters in the sport. Very, very offensive minded, very attack minded. You know, in sports in general, they've tried their best to make all sports more offensive because I feel like people are a bit more simple minded today and can't really appreciate the defensive elements of all sports. So when you have a guy like Inoue, he's made for this generation. He's super, super exciting. Gets your knockouts, gets your finishes. Like the champ Chris said, he's a terrific finisher. If he hurts you, he's going to get you out of there. Diversifies his attack. Very, very attack-minded in all ways. And I think that really has a lot to do with why he's on this list. Obviously, because he keeps winning, too. But when you keep winning the way Inoue's winning, it makes you just an easy target to become a favorite of a lot of fans.
Teddy, when you look at Inoue and his weight class, how much does that hold him back? As many of the all-time greats, Roberto Duran, for example, had to move up to get a lot of fan recognition. The fact that he fights so light and is such a small division, it's kind of devoid of a lot of stars that Americans know. How much does that hurt him? He's already talking about going up again.
You know, at another time, it would have hurt more. But eventually, the great ones get their due. You know, it catches up to them. The cream rises to the top. They do get their due. We saw it with Roman, Kid Chocolate. You know, he was too small too. He wasn't getting the recognition that he probably deserved. And then as he moved up a little bit and he kept winning, as Paulie said, the way that he won, you know, with the knockouts, the sensational, you know, just dominance, he got his recognition. You will get your recognition. And today with social media, with all just the advent of so many ways to get out there. Years ago, yeah, it was, you know, if you weren't bigger, nobody knew about you. But now it is different. And in some ways, it almost adds to his allure. You know, it almost adds to, you know, the legend of Inoue. So many weight classes. I mean, he's one of those special guys in so many categories where he won a world title, you know, so early, you know, like a Lomachenko, like a Rigondeaux, you know, to win a world title that early And also like the recent Cuban who won a world title, the middleweight, what's his name, junior middleweight,
Morrell?
that
No.
yeah, yeah,
Morrell? Yeah, super middleweight.
yeah, super middleweight. When you do those kind of things, you bring special light onto you. So here he is, a guy who's won a world title in just a couple fights. He's moved up 3, 4 weight classes already. You know, he dominates everyone. And the two champions said it well. I add one thing on. And then when on top of it, you're the monster, people know who you are. And I'm saying that in a serious way because anyone can have a nickname, but it fits. It fades the monster, and he's in Japan. And don't forget, Godzilla did originate from Japan. So that will, I don't care what weight you are, Jimmy, that will get people's attention. And now the only thing he could get more attention if he became green. But other than that, he's got plenty of attention, plenty of respect, and he deserves it.
Anytime you can sell at the Tokyo Dome, as you say, you're big in Japan. But let's go with the fighter who is undefeated, has the most fights, has been at the top of the list. That's right, we're talking about Terence "Bud" Crawford. Is he still number one? We'll discuss it when we come back. Welcome back to Who the Man here on ProBox TV. When you talk about the future pound-for-pound greats, you got to put Dmitry Bivol on the list. 22-0, 33 years old. We know about the win over Canelo Alvarez. Could a win over Artur Beterbiev, should it be in dominant fashion, make him number one pound-for-pound? We will see, but enough about the future. When you talk about the present of pound-for-pound greatness, most fights, undefeated, has looked dominant in every single performance. You got to go with Terence "Bud" Crawford. Right now, 40-0. We talked about him colliding with Errol Spence Jr. We talked about the pound-for-pound implications of that fight. Well, guess what? He looked absolutely magnificent in that. He has been a slow burn kind of fighter. Chris, when you look at Terence Crawford, technically he does everything right, but that slow build where slowly kind of the casual fans got to know who he was, and he's doing his best work now. What do you think of his trajectory into number one pound for pound?
Well, I mean, I think he's been there for a bit now, and honestly, I think technically he doesn't do everything right, especially by the book, and that's what makes him so dangerous and so much fun to watch. You know, he does a lot of things that you wouldn't expect because he is that sublime of a talent. You know, he switches sides, he fights from both angles, equally well. Which it's almost like you're fighting two guys when you're fighting Terence Crawford. If one side's not working, he switches sides and figures you out with the other side, and he can fight in different ways from both sides. It really is like fighting two guys. It's amazing how he's been able to master two sides. I mean, I always say it takes a lifetime to master boxing, and no one ever really does it. This guy's mastered two styles, at once, and he has power, and he's brought it up with him. So his ability to finish guys, find openings, all those things. I mean, he's one of those guys where he just sees openings that are there for a split second, and he finds them and he creates them. He's masterful in there, and his ability to see things is so difficult to understand when you're watching it because he is that talented. So for me, when I'm watching him, it's like, he's so great because I don't exactly know where he's going with what he's doing, and he neither do his opponents, and that's what makes him so dangerous.
He is that good, cerebrally, physically, power-wise, skill-wise, being able to do so many different things. He can go get you. He can fight on the outside. He can set traps. He could use his legs when he has to find the key to the door for 4 or 5 rounds. He's got to move around and find the right key. He could use his legs to do that. He's that versatile. He's that good. And then at the end of the day, he slows things down. I've said it before. Michael Jordan has talked about this. I think he was the greatest basketball player of all time, but there's a few guys out there. But he said that the game slows down for him, where he can see things. Ted Williams, maybe the greatest hitter of all time. Who knows? But he said that he could actually see the thread of the baseball rotating, and he knew if it was a curveball or fastball, and that helped him. Now, who knows? I mean, he had incredible vision, but what I'm saying is just that those stories are out there. For me, Crawford could have one of those stories that he slows things down so much that he sees things just before they're going to happen. What Chris talked about with Bivol, he sees things just before, like a little twitch of the arm, a little twitch of the muscle, and up, he moves. He sees things other people don't see. And that means that He doesn't have to necessarily be faster. When we say, wow, his timing is better than anybody else because he's faster. No, no, no. He might not be faster than some guys, but his timing, because he's so calm, because he sees things that other people don't see, he gets there a tenth of a second first. He's special.
Paulie, when you're getting somebody ready for a fight, if you were getting an opponent ready for Terence Crawford, more than anybody else on this list, it's hard to find a path to victory. He seems so flawless that it's hard to figure out a way to beat him, right? Inoue got dropped in his last fight, although we're putting him on the pound-for-pound list, etc. Usyk has performances that maybe you can find a way to beat him. He's a small heavyweight. When you game plan for Terence Crawford, how do you find a way to win if you're coaching his opponent? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, Jimmy, that's a great observation. There's really not a fight we can find where Crawford struggled very much, if at all. Kalliowski's had a moment with an alleged quote unquote knockdown. You really got to go back to the amateurs. Maybe when he lost in the Olympic trials to Saddam Ali, who knows? He's just a guy who's been so dominant and against some very, very good opposition. There was until he fought Spence, there was a question mark as to whether, how good he really was, because Spence had all the top welterweights in his stable, and Crawford was fighting sort of the second half of the top of the division, right? And so you weren't really sure. But when he got in there with Spence, and he made it look just as easy, if not easier, I mean, you had to really do a double take, and you had to really start to wonder, wow, is there any way we're going to see this guy struggle? Is there any way we're going to see this guy, like you're saying, what is the path to victory? He's the one who's made victory look the easiest out of everyone on this list, and he's done it consistently.
He has been absolutely incredible, but he is not the pound-for-pound number one. Right? It's a certain Ukrainian heavyweight made headlines last Saturday. We'll discuss Usyk and his ability to get on top and stay on top as pound-for-pound number one when we come back. Welcome back to Who the Man here on ProBox TV. Another future pound-for-pound great is on the list now. Might be number one soon. That's right. Gervonta Tank Davis, 29-0, 27 knockouts. The combination he brings, excellent boxing skills. When you talk about wow factor, his ability to put fighters out. That's what Gervonta Davis is great at, of course, fighting next month. An incredible fighter, incredible skills, could be a future pound-for-pound king. We'll see. Someone who stamped their name on the pound-for-pound list last Saturday with the win over Tyson Fury. That's right, Oleksandr Usyk, a heavyweight who came up from cruiserweight. First question to you, I gotta ask, Paulie, when you talk about his success at heavyweight, you always say he came up from cruiserweight, not a big heavyweight. How much does that help him in the pound-for-pound debate?
It does help him because he's battling a disadvantage that a natural heavyweight doesn't have to deal with, and that is the size disadvantage. And it's funny because by old-time standards, Usyk would be a pretty normal heavyweight, even a big heavyweight in some eras, But in today's era, he's a small heavyweight. He's had to come up from cruiserweight, and he's had to take on these, quote-unquote giants in some ways, and he's had to figure out how to beat them, not just physically, but also mentally and cerebrally, So there's a different way he's got to achieve victory than, say, a natural heavyweight. And of course, the fact that he was so good at cruiserweight also helps him here on this pound-for-pound list. He's a guy who, it's hard to find, when guys are this good, it's hard to find a fight where you think, oh, man, I wonder if he's going to win this fight. But that's, I've done that a couple of times with Usyk. I wasn't sure if he was going to beat Murat Gassiev the way Gassiev was looking in that cruiserweight tournament. And now, again, I wasn't sure he was going to beat Tyson Fury here in the heavyweight division. I wasn't even sure he could do well at heavyweight in general when he first got there, So the fact that he's had sort of his back to the wall and had to be questioned and consistently comes out with flying colors, wins with flying colors, does it in a way where he actually shows it's not easy, but he overcomes adversity and still shows it to you. I think it's something meritorious for him, and really he's beaten a heavyweight who really looked like the boogeyman in Tyson Fury. Big guy, could beat you physically, could beat you boxing wise. Usyk came in and beat him, and that's a really, really impressive thing on top of all the other impressive things he's done.
Teddy, you coached Michael Moore to a heavyweight title. It's the guy who came up from light heavyweight. You coached Mike Tyson, who a comparatively small heavyweight. In that mold, how does Usyk compare to those guys who are heavyweight champions?
He doesn't have the power, the pure punches are born, they're not made. From cruiserweight to lightweight to heavyweight, it don't matter. You're born, you're not. He doesn't have that TNT liquid dynamite in his fist to erase a lot of mistakes. And the good news is, since he doesn't, he can't make a lot of mistakes. He is a solid guy. He had to become solid technically in all dimensions. You know, there is one great dimension. It's not a tangible one. It's one that is harder to get a measurable on it, you know, because it's not speed, it's not power, it's not that. And I'll tell you what it is in a second. But there's not one area that he's not solid, that he's not good. There's not one area that he's great, where, he hits you on top of the head and he fractures your ankles, like the old timers would say. You know, those other guys did that. He doesn't have that. So he's solid in all areas, but he is great in one area. And that's why he's heavyweight champ. And that's why I picked him in that fight. It was very hard to pick, it was very hard. It was truly a 50-50 fight. And it played out that way. But he finds a way to win. He's always done that. He did that as a teenager in the amateurs. He did that. He had 300 amateur fights. But he did it in the Olympics. He won the gold medal. He went up to cruiserweight and he won. He unified the cruiserweights. Then he goes to another country against a big heavyweight and he beats him in Joshua. And then just to show that it wasn't a fluke, he goes to that country and beats him again. This guy, that is what makes him special. He finds a way. And if you need more proof, the Joshua fight, the round that he got hurt, what did he do? The next round, he came out and dominated. What happened the other night? The 6th round, he gets caught at the end. He's down 4-2 on my scorecard. He's lost the last 4 rounds in a row. He's got to turn around. He's got to find a way to win. And in the 6th round, what happens? He gets hit with a right uppercut. He gets hurt at the end of the round. Go back to Joshua. What'd he do? The next round, he dominated. What'd he do the 7th round? Came right back, took control, took momentum. It was the turning point of the fight. The 8th round, same thing. And then the 9th round, wow. Found a way to win.
Chris, that same thing of technical dominance, but the lack of wow factor. As Teddy said, he's not a one-shot knockout puncher like we've seen before in the heavyweight division. It's his strength and his weakness. How does that balance to you, Chris?
Well, he's got a wow factor to me, and it's exactly what Teddy was talking about. It's the it factor, and that's what it is. I mean, like you said, Teddy, his ability to find a way to win, his ability to find another gear. That's another way that I'm going to put it, Teddy. I'm going to piggyback off everything that you were saying, because he always finds another gear. I said this in a previous show. I've seen him struggle in the amateurs. I've seen him struggle at cruiserweight. I've seen him struggle at heavyweight. I saw him struggle on Saturday night. Guess what? He finds another gear. He looked tired in that fight. He got hurt. Yes. He was tired. Yes. Finds another gear. Like, pulls it out of nowhere. So for me, the it factor is the reason why he's my pound for pound number 1, because I don't see how you beat a guy like that. If he can always find another gear, if there's always something left in the tank, we'll never know how great he can be until you push him. You have to push him. The guy operates on the brink of defeat, and he finds a way to win. That's a very special guy right there. And that's 100%. Why he's my pound for pound number 1.
Well, we've discussed them all the candidates for pound king. We'll make our picks, whether you like it or not, after this break. Welcome back to Who Da Man here on ProBox TV. Well, we don't get paid here at ProBox TV to sit on the fence. We get paid to make the tough decisions. We talked about Naoya Inoue. We talked about Terence Crawford, Oleksandr Usyk, Dmitry Bivol, Gervonta Davis. Gentlemen, your pick for pound best. Give me your list. Chris, whenever you're ready.
Well, I already let the cat out of the bag, right? I said Usyk was my number 1 because of that it factor. And I think it makes more sense for me to go from this way to that way, go from 1 to 5 because of what we talked about. Number 2, I got Terence Crawford. But guys, we're splitting hairs here. These top 3 guys are super close. Number 3, Naoya Inoue. All of them are based on basically when their last fight was. And that's how tight these guys are. Number 4, I got Dmitry Bivol. I think his style is super difficult to compete with. He just has that ability to find the wins. Number 5, this is going to be an interesting one, Canelo Alvarez. And the reason is because Dmitry Bivol just isn't busy enough. I don't know if he's going to actually make it to a fight. He keeps getting hurt. So for me, I got Canelo there because I don't know if we're ever going to see better be a fight again. Better be a fight again. Yeah, we know. So I got Usyk, Crawford, Naoya Inoue, Dmitry Bivol, and Canelo Alvarez.
Paulie, I don't think Canelo is making your list. That's just a guess of mine. What's your top 5, brother?
Yeah, I got it's very similar to Chris's actually, with the exception of Canelo. I can't credit that kind of stuff. But there's I got Oleksandr Usyk as number one. What he just accomplished was really something very special. I still got Crawford at 2. I know Inoue just won, but again, like the champ says, splitting hairs. Inoue got dropped. Shows a little bit of susceptibility. Crawford looks really, really dominant each and every time. I got him as number 2 right now. Inoue at 3, one of the, possibly the most exciting fighter in the sport. Really, that no wonder he's selling out the Dome. It's very obvious why he's so fun and why he's so highly rated. I got Bivol at 4 as well. Bivol is a guy who's solid, doesn't really wow you with anything, but he continues to be very, very good and continues to dominate each and every opponent. Really hasn't struggled despite raising his level of opposition consistently. Has continued to dominate all that level of opposition. Any rounds. And then lastly, I got Bam Rodriguez. I think Bam Rodriguez is an ascending guy. He's beaten some very good fighters and continues to try to take on the best fighters. I rate fighters that try to take on the best and don't try to find detours anywhere. And Rodriguez has done that and continued to win.
Teddy, we know your history. Who's your top 5 pound for pound right now?
A little drum roll. I want to change it up a little tiny bit because, the 2 champions always steal the thunder. They're so damn good. So I'll go the opposite way. I'll go from the bottom up. I'll start at the bottom, and there's no bottom. I mean, these are the top 5 pound for pound. So there's no bottom. But number 5, Tank Davis. Just, he can fight. He could do everything. I mean, we know he can punch. He's got that. But man, he could counter punch. He could set traps. He goes in the trenches. He can do anything. And he's cerebral. He figures it out. He's smart. Also, Bivol, number 4. Bivol, as the champion said, so solid. So many things that he does, really textbook. I mean, he can give a class on a sweet science. He could give that class. And then number 3, Inoue. And Paulie said it well, hard to separate, and so did Chris. Hard to separate these guys, Crawford, Inoue, any of these top guys. But Inoue, he does everything. He's got the power, and he's got that attitude. He's got that attitude. His nickname's the Monster, but he really thinks he's a monster. The only thing is he's a smart monster, and he gets the job done. And Crawford, number 2. Crawford does everything well, has the power. Remarkably, he's carried the weight. He's carried the power with the weight. So many weight classes. And now he's going to give it another try at junior middleweight. But this guy's special. And then Usyk. I mean, look what he just did. We talked about it. He's done nothing but win. This guy, Olympic gold, cruiserweight, unified the titles. Now he unifies the heavyweight after breaking into it and winning the title against who some people think is the best heavyweight, Joshua, and he beat him twice. I mean, and again, he does everything right, and he just finds a way to do it. So that's my 5.
Usyk sweeps the top of the list. Of course, let us know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. But we think here that Usyk is number 1. This has been Who the Man? We break it down, tell you who's number 1 right now. It's Oleksandr Usyk. We'll see you next time.